Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Terrestrial Material, where we talk about the material us terrestrials are interested in. It is a different day than we are typically on this week. It is Sunday. So what are we doing on Sunday? Why are we not here on Saturday like usual? Well, we're going to find out a little bit about that from our buddy and best co-host around, Steve French. But today, since it's episode 8, we do want to talk about, could AI actually bring disclosure? I had another wake up at 3 a.m. process where I got up, had this idea, and I was like, man, could that be something down the road that we really see? So we want to have a lot of fun speculation on that, and we won't make our great French co-host wait too much longer. Let's get on over to him. What's up, buddy?
How's it going? What's going on, everybody? So Sunday, day later, but no big deal. Good day for chilling, talking. Saturday, I actually went to big rock concert, almost like a festival, but so for us it was like here at a DTE Music Theater, a couple bands that I really wanted to go see. I Prevail, Bad Omens, Bad Flower, Rival Sons, and then festival stage. So it was a pretty good time.
Sounds like more fun than hanging out with me.
Nah.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I mean, here's the other thing. I do want to announce this too, is that next weekend's show will also be Sunday. I have a wedding to go to Saturday. So this is like a back-to-back Sunday gig, but it's not going to be forever. We are going to go back to Saturdays right after that. And we're hoping that very first Saturday back that we can get Richie Goofon on as a guest, man. And we can learn a lot more about Rich, man. I got so many questions I want to ask him.
Yeah, we well, we've been talking to them for quite a while now, so it's about time we bring him on and have some good times.
It's about time we figured out how we could. I mean, it took us so long.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah, it was just, I don't know. We got it figured out. Who would have known that it was a credit card fix? You know what I mean? You just throw some money at it and,
Right.
and there it goes. But not to hold us off too much more from the topic tonight, AI bringing disclosure. What do you think about that? Like, what first comes to your mind, French, when I bring that up?
Really just AI kind of sticks out the most, more than like the word disclosure, but that's given the circumstances of how we've kind of been slowly introduced to AI. So in my experiences, most of the times that I come across anything AI related, it's usually like songs and stuff, like famous musicians, and that's always the first thing I hear about is like their songs that have been recreated by AI and stuff like that. So then and it's like to a point to where you can't really tell. So then like these artists don't even know, and then these artists hear their song and they're like, who did this? Why, how is this? And they're all catching on now, but it's kind of funny. But yeah, I think it's a interesting topic for sure.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started hearing about AI, it was probably like the way most do. I mean, it was the photos, right? The pictures, and people were doing that. And then, yeah, I mean, it's obviously progressed to where they're writing scripts now with it, and they're doing physics. I mean, they are. I mean, they're learning that the AI is actually able to go back and figure out some of the theories and some of the mathematics behind. And I'm not a physicist, so give me a break if I stumble on some of this, but they're figuring out the old formulas and they're learning them on their own, which is pretty incredible, man.
Yeah, it's I can't wait to see like what the next big thing is going to be, like AI related. But I also wonder about the things that we don't hear that are still AI related that we don't know about, because some people might not like it.
What, do you have anything like that in mind?
Um, it was kind of like what we were talking about before the show started. When we were just um, shooting the breeze, is like a copyright thing, right? I think it's going to cause a lot of issues with something like that. But then I don't know. Now that I say that, like, is there a copyright issue with an AI program doing it? I mean, somebody has to run the program to tell it what it's gonna like compute and run and make. So, but I feel like that would be a big problem.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of what the guy from NASA was saying, right? Was that the AI is only as good as what we're putting into it right now. That it's not going to get much more. But I don't know, man. When you look at what I've seen from Chat GPT 4, because I think that's what we're on right now, like they're estimating that the IQ of that is 155.
Hmm.
When you look at Albert Einstein, it's supposed to be like 160 IQ. So it's already growing. It's already getting smarter. It's already obviously much smarter than, just everyday people like ourselves. But when you look at what they're predicting for the future, every Chat GPT that continues to progress, they're looking at like a 10x increase in intelligence. So
That's insanity.
yeah, I mean, potentially over the next 2 or 3 years. Wait, did we lose Frenchie again? Oh boy. Right when we're heating up, guys. Oh wait, are you back?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For some reason it knocks you off the stream like that. But good thing we got you back quicker. But they're estimating in next 2 or 3 years, it could be 3,000 times like more intelligent than humans.
That's
And this,
ridiculous.
dude, it's insane. That's 2 or 3 years. And like when I heard the guy talking about that, I was like, man, I haven't even considered this as a potential avenue for disclosure, or even just really where these machines are coming from, like the tic tacs, or any of these reportings that we've seen for the last 80, 90, 100 years. I mean, you could even go further in history for what's written on the cave walls. Can our physics get to the point, or can Chat GPT or AI get to a point where it's writing its own physics? And can it crack gravity? Could it? Could we get anti-gravity from AI, French? What do you think?
I mean, because I didn't know like the estimate was like increased by 10, like for the IQ for that. So like just that statistic alone, like if you keep going with that and it does actually keep holding that value of increase, I don't know. It's not too far off. It's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, when I started, because I'm gonna be honest, man, like I've noticed a big trend, especially on Twitter, but across ufology from all the different shows that are out there, is that a lot of the more skeptical shows, and I would consider us kind of more of a skeptical, we're kind of middle of the ground. Um, but the really far skeptical shows, it seems like they're leaning towards more that there maybe hasn't ever been aliens, or that there really isn't anything interdimensional at all, and that this has all been government tech that we've just developed, and we've had physicists that have been able to crack it. If I was going to come from that direction and make that kind of an argument, I would say that AI cracking gravity and giving us the ability to control like a time machine at that point, that would be like the best way to argue that point.
Yeah, I think so. Time machine thing too. Do you think it's still true that like Russia's been like working on time machine development? And if that's the case, do you think now with AI becoming so popular, they're gonna start using AI to try and do something like that? Like instead of cracking anti-grav, they're they're going the other way with it. They're doing time travel.
Well, I would think that you would definitely want to look into that possibility, right? I mean, if they're able to just right now with an IQ of 155 and what they've got, able to go back and learn these physics, yeah, I mean, you would want to go down that valley at that point and figure out just how far can we push this thing over the next. I mean, just 10 years. I mean, 2 to 3 years, 3,000 times more intelligent than humans. I don't even know how to describe what that looks like. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like what does that look like to you? Do you think, like, if you had to try to paint some sort of picture with that? I mean,
Like an AI with that much
yeah,
intelligence. I don't know. Like a physical form?
sure, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Dude, that's do you think they would even actually look like robots anymore? I feel like with that technology and everything, it already figure out everything else to make itself look like exactly like a human.
Yeah, I mean that would depend, I guess, if it felt like it had a need for us to interact with us. That is, like if it
Yeah, I guess
really,
that's true.
yeah, I mean if it felt like it still needed us, because I mean 3,000, 6,000 times more. I mean, what do you think they would even need us for at this point? I mean, just to keep the power cells running for it, or
I don't know. No, because there's got to be a way that it would figure all that out on its own. And then do you think at what point like it's self-aware?
I mean, that Skynet is potentially real. I believe that more than ever now.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
yeah, and that's so crazy. I mean, I seen this video where they had, and I think a lot of people have seen it. It's the head that's on the thumbnail tonight. It's the guy's like asking this head that has shoulders and a body questions, and it's just turning around, it's looking and it's answering, and dude, it
So
looks,
creepy, dude.
yeah, it looks just like iRobot. Like it really, really looks like iRobot. And like we were mentioning kind of before the show, I said, how crazy is it that if all the movies that we've all seen try to predict the future, Blade Runner, all of these things, what if iRobot is really the closest to it, at least for the next 1,000 years? I mean, how wild is that? I mean, I wouldn't have picked iRobot being the most likely future right away, right?
No, I wouldn't have. I do remember a conversation we had like years and years ago, though, like not too long after that movie came out, that we did say like then though that like it seems like that kind of described like what the future would be like just a little bit, but like you said, more and more now I think it's getting closer and closer, especially given the circumstances. Like in the movie, it has like the mainframe and everything. I can't remember the name of it or whatever, but there would have to be something like that, right? For AI,
Yeah.
like a massive just hub, the central of like the AI that is kind of branching off and feeding all the rest of the AI programs and stuff.
Yeah, and what I thought was, I've always thought about that too, is because like when you look at that video of the guy talking to it, like he doesn't have legs, it can't move.
Mm-mm.
It's kind of like the Dwight Schrute joke where he's like, you give the cord 6 feet so it can't chase you and it can't kill you, right?
Yeah.
And I always wonder, because everyone always talks about, is it going to get off the rails? Is AI going to go crazy? Is it going to take over all the networks and kill us essentially? But yeah, I mean, if as long as I would assume, but I'm not an AI expert, I would assume that if they created it with some kind of power off switch, if it really ever got too crazy, you could just
Yeah,
shut it
fail
down. But
safe.
yeah,
It'd have to be something very remote too, in my opinion. Because I think like to make a main like AI hub, like in the movie iRobot, like it seems like that is like the most sophisticated, right? That's like the original form that's progressed the X amount, however many years, and it's like at its peak, so it's smart enough to control everything else too. I think that's how that would work.
yeah.
And you'd always want like some sort of fail safe though.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of these guys that speculate that there isn't one though, that it would essentially just reach out and it would get, its power or life and live somewhere else and just kind of replicate. And boy, that is scary when you really think about it.
It could.
Before I really took any kind of time to look at it at the AI topic at all, I was always kind of like, I don't know, man. It always seems so far away. But if you really just take a day or two and look at what they've accomplished with it, you realize that's probably not the truth. I mean, it has a lot more potential to do that than you think.
It's like seems like in the last like couple years it's really become a very popular thing. And like more so popular that like just general people are starting to use it now. Like it's not just something that like let's say like code writers and stuff like that are using like at their jobs. Like the general public has access to just basic AI programs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what we have access to. I mean, who knows how long, areas of the government or even, subcontractors have had this kind of technology to where they've been able to iterate on it and use it. And this is just kind of what they let us have. I mean, that's always been like a common topic for a lot of people thinking, how far ahead is the government? I mean, you look at the camera systems that we have, what do you think that they have? I mean, it's always
Hmm.
been something, a form of progression that we get like a watered down version of what they have. And depending on how long they've been working with it, we have chat GPT 4, but what if they're on 10? At that point in time, if they're
Very well
getting,
could be.
yeah, I mean, if they're getting physics done for them and they're having, a lot of advancements, I just think that, French, it just made me reevaluate kind of what I thought was possible and the potential. It didn't change my mind. Like, I still think that we're being visited either from far away or from interdimension. I still think that's there. I'm not completely out of the race with that yet. But, dude, it's a very interesting thought process to think that maybe that stuff has been created and we're kind of coming back and looking at ourselves.
Yeah, that's very interesting way to look at it. I mean,
Yeah.
AI is one of those things that it's almost like a mystery, right? And we're just kind of like working on it more and more and more. And I think there is that possibility too, like if they're coming to visit us and everything, maybe they're studying why we're studying like AI and why we're developing AI. Like maybe they gave up on it. Maybe they used to do the same thing and they couldn't figure out a way to get to a certain point. So now we're doing it and they're like, huh, let's go check out, see what they're doing with it.
Could also be maybe seeing, coming back and looking at the roots and where it all went wrong.
Or that, yeah.
I mean, it changes the landscape of the future dramatically, man. And I think it does kind of bolster the idea of everything being a simulation more and more and more, because obviously if you could create AI images the way that they do now, I mean, sure, they have, 10 fingers and 10 toes and, they're not perfect. But I mean, 3,000, 6,000, 10,000 times the IQ, artistic ability. What does that mean? Does that mean at the 6,000 level, are they making PS5 games from scratch really quick? Or at the 10,000 level, like, what does that mean? How hard would it be for an AI to craft a world, a simulated world, and just plant it out in the universe at that point? And we wouldn't even know if that was us.
Yeah, I think once you get it past a certain point, I think we kind of become obsolete. And what's even like scarier to think of, like just general AI, right? It doesn't even have to be like the smartest, but if you can write a script and put some sort of voice generated AI to mimic somebody, you can do a lot of damage and create like, the obsoleteness of whatever you wanted to in the snap of a finger. That's what like creeps me out because sometimes you can't tell.
Yeah, it's a lot of damage.
Dude. Well, what scares me is when I listen to these videos of like the president generated like AI voices
Ah,
and stuff. Because my first thought is like, dude, people can use that to such a high advantage to get what they want and pit people against each other. Like it's
yeah.
insane.
Yeah, and we haven't even really seen the full potential of even that yet. I mean, there's so many branches to where this can go. And I wish I would have, like, I guess, looked into this more the last like 3 or 4 years when this has kind of been more and more of a thing. It's just only so much you can devote your time to. I mean, this ufology by itself will consume your entire soul. I mean, with how much information is there. But I mean, what makes it a time machine thing to me though is, yeah, I mean, obviously, if you can control gravity, you can theoretically control time at that point. I mean, they're linked, right?
Yep.
But maybe that's why so many people, when they have like these abduction experiences that are said to have happened, that's why there's all this missing time that's involved. And then that these crafts really are really working with time and messing with time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Um I think time travel would be like the biggest tool that any race anywhere could have. I mean, at that point, your possibilities are essentially endless. Like you have infinite resets, you have infinite like insight. I mean, it's the ultimate tool. It's the ultimate, uh, in my opinion, like a creation or building ground tool. You can do whatever you want, and you can
Right.
get away with it, and not have. You can skip the problems. You can skip the whatever you need, like if funding, everything. If planning, I guess is the word I'm looking for. There just be no planning. Just go see what's going to happen, do your stuff, and then boom, set it up. Fast forward, you're done.
But what about, I guess, maybe staying on the topic of abductions for just a moment more? Why do you think, if it was AI, let's say it was, why are they abducting people from the 50s, 60s, maybe prehistoric times? I mean, if there were, abductions even to that point. I mean, what do you think that AI would even care about random people? Because I mean, the targets seem random from all the stories. I mean, I don't think they've really focused on anybody famous. You know what I mean? What do you think
Mm-mm.
they're? Hang on, I know it's a hard question, bro, but why do you think they would care to take us? I mean, what does the AI care about Travis Walton? You know?
I I think it just have to be like a general like interest, right? Maybe just brain development, human body development in general over the years. I mean, things change. Our bodies have changed in so many generations and stuff, and maybe it still wants to study something like that.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason why I ask is like the big part, and this is why I've said, can AI bring disclosure? Is I really am looking at that thesis of, this has been AI has been cracked gravity for us. There's no aliens. What are all these angles? Look at all these areas of ufology and put that in and see how that affects. I mean, if it's not aliens from their planet and it's AI, that's why I asked the question: why would AI care about picking up somebody in the 70s? You know what I mean? So it's every
Yeah, it is
angle.
a hard question.
Yeah, I just want to test like every theory that I could think of and see how that applies to like most of what ufology says has went on over time, and just to really see, is that a possibility? Because a big part of ufology itself too is like what these crafts are, what they look like, especially. And if we were able to have AI to the point where it was able to figure out gravity for us, if it was able to make us crafts, why would they all look so different over the years? Why? Because I mean, there's balls of light. I mean, we did our episode where we looked at all of those different kinds of crafts out there, the teardrops, the ones that look like they were gunships. Is that because the different nations have also figured out their own? Like some of the jets look different than other nations' jets, kind of a thing. I mean, what do you think?
That's kind of like what I was gonna say. Like I think either there's that many different types of AI programs that we don't know about, and those are all the individual programs that have created and done their own engineering to do the anti-gravity thing. Or like you said, it could be just completely different like nations AIs, or even different planets, different galaxies AIs, that have created these ships and stuff. Maybe there is only one per galaxy, and that's just the staple for, aircrafts. Because once you get it right, well, I mean, there's no need to make different models of it, like we said when we were looking at all the different types of it.
Yeah.
You have one, I mean, you just copy it, and it's all you need. I mean, do you think you're really going to care about how it looks or anything at that point? Like I mean, you're just so excited you got this craft that can do all these things. It's like, no, we'll just copy it.
Well, I wonder also, I mean, are there optimizations that are made over time? I mean, do they find that, I mean, because Ford's cars in the 40s, 50s, and today, they all look different. There's different optimizations made for fuel efficiency and like all of those things. And maybe there are models that are more built for speed or more built for, supply and carrying and traveling. What do you think about that? I mean,
I could see that being a possibility. Kind of like how we have like cargo ships and stuff like that. I think it might
yeah.
be like something like that too.
Yeah,
I mean,
you have like
it would make the most sense to me.
yeah, like oil rigs and speedboats. I mean, they're
Right.
all transportation through the water, but they have, such different needs.
Yeah.
Just because it's anti-gravitic, man, and you could kind of go wherever you want, it doesn't mean that it could be a jack of all trades. You still might have, differences when it comes to those things for sure, man.
Yeah, no, I
Absolutely.
totally agree. I mean, there's always that possibility that they're probably doing, efficient, add-ons to it and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think about, what if these machines, because they look at quantum computing, they're worried about quantum computing so much because they're going to be able to get in and crack a lot of these codes and a lot of the what do you call it, the encryption, right? Well, what if this
Yeah.
AI was able to kind of be more self-aware and then go into like these secret files somewhere? Maybe it goes in the Department of Energy and starts learning there and kicks some of that information out. We kind of can't control some of that. Maybe that's a really crazy thought, but I don't know.
I mean, do you think it would be like a bad thing, or do you think it could potentially be a good thing?
I mean, it could be both. I
AI
mean,
could optimize any, program or files or whatever it gets into potentially. Not to say that it is or knows how to, but
yeah, I mean, like, could it essentially become like a WikiLeaks style program without even really realizing that that's what's going on. Like, because I mean, just because AI exists, I guess I should say this.
I get what you're saying now more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it doesn't mean like that aliens and stuff wouldn't exist, but I'm saying like, if we always want access to this underground hidden tech, to the files. Everybody says, show us the pictures, show us the bodies. I mean, if the AI decided it wanted to route itself into those places, and maybe it decided that it wanted to disclose it, or maybe it did accidentally because it learned about some aliens that were out there, and it started talking about it more. I don't know. Maybe you could bring disclosure that way. I might be reaching, brother, but you know,
No, I don't think so. Well, I just because the example that you use, like like WikiLeaks and stuff like that, because I mean that's like one of the biggest, right? Wikipedia and stuff like that. I think because it's one of the biggest and it's almost like one of the most basics, because all you have to do is have like a Wikipedia account, right? To go through and edit things on Wikipedia, and just it's general public. They go through and see it, they'd be like, no, that's not right. I mean, what if AI is slowly doing that, like you said, but doesn't know it, and it is like starting to disclose stuff and wouldn't know it?
well, it wouldn't even have to have its own brain, though. I mean, right? I mean, other countries
Mm-mm.
are developing, I'm and using AI. Obviously, it's getting more advanced. I mean, they could use it to get past our stuff. I see Sapphire in the chat saying, sensitive mainframes would probably all be firewalled with a physical barrier to hacks. I mean, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But I mean, 3,000, 6,000 time, AI in next 2 or 3 years. I don't know if we could make a firewall that could beat that though. I wonder if we're just going to be too behind because, we're all kind of stupid compared to this stuff,
That's what I was gonna say though. Like that seems to be the thing that my brain keeps going back to. Like when it's AI related and it becomes something so massive and like you would have to like build a firewall or something like that. I feel like it would have to be an AI built firewall, like for it to
Yeah.
actually work and be effective.
God, we are
That's
going to
what
be
always
useless, huh?
twists my brain. Yeah, I mean that's just what like you think of AI. That's usually like obsolete. Anything else it just becomes obsolete.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wild, man. I really wonder how it's going to change. Um, I just don't know why more people who think that there aren't any aliens haven't really went this route, because this seems like, if I really wanted to be the ultra skeptic and shut this thing down, I would say no. Chat GPT 60, 60 or 70 figured out anti-grav, and now we're coming back in time and we're looking at maybe where things went wrong. I don't know. But then you got to ask yourself, what is consciousness? Is there consciousness like involvement in this at some point? I mean, when you look at like possibly the world as a simulation, I don't want to go on too much of a tangent, but I just feel like you have to at least mention this. Is consciousness itself like a peak form of AI? Maybe not an intelligence, but an experience?
I like how you like just worded that at the end, intelligence and experience, because I was gonna say, yeah, possibly, right? But like only to a certain like extent of like intelligence, because I don't know, like AI and self consciousness and stuff like that, like it has the ability to still keep building essentially itself and its own conscious at that point. Like we don't really have that tool to our access that we know of. There's a lot of speculation on like consciousness and how to expand it, but I mean, you would think like AI and consciousness, if they were kind of merged together, it would have that ability to just kind of expand without really having to do anything else.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't know. I don't want to go too far down the consciousness rabbit hole because that's a whole nother episode. But I don't know. I just when I think about the simulation and everything being a simulation, consciousness is just, it stands out. Like how is that created? You know, is it like, I know we were talking a little bit about this on the panel. Like, is it local? Is it non-local? Um, would AI essentially be like running the non-local version, and it's just kind of beaming it to us, and our brains just think that it's local? I mean,
Could be. I
yeah,
mean, that's why I always think about like just in general, like dreaming and stuff like that. When we have dreams and stuff, I think it's our consciousness like trying to drift between like local and non-local, but we don't really have that ability to like expand it. So like when we're subconsciously, sleeping and dreaming and stuff like that, it's doing its own thing. but doesn't really have that extra step, you know?
Yeah. I just
As
I
crazy as it sounds.
no, I think yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, yeah, I just think that like weaponry, um, long term. I mean, I think what you mentioned earlier is just true. It's just going to be fighting fire with fire. You know, AI is really gonna take it over. This stuff's fascinated me like the last week or so that I've looked at it,
Have
bro.
you seen the video of like Tesla's AI programming?
No, tell me
Like
about it.
like like running, like
Uh-uh.
while the car's actually going. So it
No.
it shows like the AI view of everything that it's scanning. Bro, it's a trip. I'm like, okay. And then that's just one instance of it in a car, right?
Yeah.
But it's doing all of that. Like when you actually get to see it, like go through all its scanning and all of its measurements and calculating, it's like that. Just that little video alone, like just like blows your mind. And to think that there's other forms of that at a higher, like altitude, it's like whoa.
Yeah, I
Because
mean,
again, that just makes me think Skynet again.
every time though.
It's
Every
just
time
one of those things.
all I can think is that. I mean, they were asking that chat GPT-4 bot, they were asking, you know, are you harmful or potentially harmful to humans, like, and all of these things. And it was like, no, I'm not. And I'm here to program to help humans. And it's like, that's exactly what you said in iRobot before you threw the old lady out of the window or threw the old guy out. Like, I don't, I don't know. And there's so many like moral questions that come up, and iRobot just I have to keep harkening back to that because God, it's so many really good questions before it's. I mean, think about it, that was 2004, right, when that movie came out.
Yeah, somewhere around there. I know a long time ago.
Yeah, so like are would AI really view morals and view our safety in the same way? I mean, if you remember when things really got crazy, when those robots kind of took over in iRobot, they would block the people in the home and say, "Hey, you know, you can't leave. It's for your safety. It's for your safety." Which it's like that's how they view the safety, but we know they needed to get out of there to really be safe. So that
Right.
misunderstanding, long haul, that could be very detrimental to everybody, right?
You'd have to have like a very trustworthy and like morally, I don't know, sound person to have to be a part of like the AI programming for something like that. But
Yeah,
that begs the question though too, like how much can you really, trust anybody, a general human, as far as you can throw them, right?
well, they can throw them real far, so
Right.
yeah, and they replicate really well. I mean, that was another thing with that movie that was interesting is obviously they replicate all those. What do they call them? A5s or I5s or something? I can't remember the name of them.
Yeah, something
Like
like
yeah,
that.
like the newest brand of them.
Hmm.
I mean, even if like AI was that thing, I mean, like I said, it doesn't mean that there wouldn't be aliens still. I mean, most likely, if we had civilizations, especially that were from super long distances away, they would have to employ that technology, right? I mean, whether or not that was to just create a craft that could get here with physics, or to create a pilot that could pilot a craft long enough and be sustainable enough without food and water to really get here, but then also survive in a brand new environment and be able to contract data and send that back and just be very efficient at that. I mean, the aliens would use it too.
Oh, 100%. I think it's a lot of work though to create something like that though. I mean, the sustainability of it. I mean, because anything could go wrong. So it's like whether you've done your research and everything, you've created this to do exactly that, travel, collect data, send it back, be self-sustaining. Something could happen, could be a glitch.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, to get the materials that you would need to move through space like that too. I mean, God, I wish I knew more about that. I wish I knew the real materials that it would take to go very far and not be damaged throughout space. Because I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of dangers out there in space. I mean, I guess it depends on where they're at. I mean, materials are going to be different throughout the cosmos, right?
I would think so, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what it needs. And I mean, how they would even create AI to get here. I mean, do they use computers the way that we have computers? Keyboard, monitor. What do you
I
think?
don't know. You think it's linked to their head?
Oh, they got Neuralink right off the top.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe.
I mean, once you created it, right, and then you just have it. I mean, there'd be no need for a lot of other things again. Like,
Yeah. No, I mean, Neuralink is like, man, that's scary, bro. That's another good I guess transition to here is like, if you're gonna have a Skynet, boy, if they're gonna tap into not only the AI robots but they're gonna control us too. God, we're a cyborg too, right? I mean, they could do whatever they wanted.
at that point, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it never happens like that, but you never know.
Like there's
Whether
so
it's in my lifetime or not.
yeah. Well, I mean, it could be. I mean, if they're doing 10x,
Right. I know. That's what I was just gonna say. Like, I don't know. You tripped me out with that number, bro.
dude, it tripped me out, man.
It's insane.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard him say that, that was when I went, man, we got to talk about that because that's beyond interesting at this point. Yeah, I mean, I want Neuralink, dude. I do. I would be down for that, but yeah, I mean, the more that I look into this AI stuff, I just feel like it's going to end up getting out of hand. How would it not?
Every sign like points to that when you think about it. And you don't really have to break it down and think about it that much because I mean it's almost kind of like a common sense thing, right? Like stuff's eventually going to go wrong. Like it's just where it ends up going, especially something like that.
Yeah,
And
Richie.
look at all the movies we watch about it. It's literally what all the movies are about too. So it's like we're not the only ones that think about it. Like everybody thinks about it in that sense.
Yeah, see Richie in chat. How's it going, Rich? Good to see you, buddy. He says, I think aliens are us. I mean, they could be. I mean, without a doubt. I mean, because here's the thing, French.
Yeah.
Our little brains, compared to these AI brains that are going to supposedly be here in 2 or 3 years, maybe skin, this cheek, maybe this is material. DNA is part of that somehow. Maybe that's really the ultimate. It's not metal. It's not titanium. It's not these things. The ultimate creations of AI is flesh and bone, man. Maybe I don't know. Maybe that seems backwards because we always see technology go up from material of that nature. What do you think about us?
I
Maybe,
don't think it's backwards. I mean, I completely like agree. That's I mean, if you're going into like the whole like simulation thing and everything, yeah, we'd absolutely be the aliens. Because think about now, like they do make skin. I mean, they're making organs and stuff like that.
yeah,
Like obviously medical reasons, right? But I mean, to also create more aliens.
yeah, and it's not just the penis on the mouse from South Park. Remember that running around?
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they are creating things. I mean, aren't they doing something with lungs? Am I crazy about that? Or are there actually like synthetic lungs they're working on? God, I feel like I seen that somewhere.
I
I could be
think so.
wrong.
There's also like hearts and stuff too that have like a nano web like meshing on them.
Yeah.
And so like if anything also happens, it like essentially like resuscitates itself. Dude, it's
Wow.
wild.
No way. Where'd you see this stuff?
Ah, a while ago, man. It was some weird like nano web like layer stuff that they're like putting over organs and stuff. And it's got like it can have like electrical pulses through it and everything.
Wow. So like you're saying like it's like
I
a
think
new
maybe it
version of
was
like a
almost
pacemaker
supposed to.
almost?
Yeah, I was gonna say I
Yeah.
think maybe originally it was supposed to be a replacement or like an advanced form of like a pacemaker, so you don't have to go through all the crazy procedure and everything for that.
Yeah.
They just cut you open, wrap your heart with that.
Wow, dude, you're blowing my mind with that. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it's especially. I wonder what they could do with spine, with like your spine for that people who can't walk anymore. I mean, is there a way that they can like feed it impulses that makes so you can walk again? I mean, I'm not a doctor either. God, I'm none of these things, but I like talking about it though.
I don't, what that makes me think about is that video I seen where they have like this spider and they have a syringe injected into its back and they pump it with air and it expands the legs and they're actually like picking things up with like the spider's exo like skeleton and everything and like taking the air out of the body and the spine and everything and picking stuff up and they're like now what if we can use this to a greater scale. I'm like huh, on top of being able to create like synthetic flesh and stuff like that, like
Yeah.
different form of an alien.
I mean, well, it seems like we just keep getting more options with AI for what aliens could be. It's like the more we learn the possibilities, the more and more the roads open up. I mean, it's not a fork in the road anymore. I feel like when you look at ufology in the past, it was a lot more of a fork in the road. It was more of, it's either people are crazy, is the take the right path, they're crazy, or you
Right.
take the left path, and they're little green guys from Mars and stuff like that. But and then over time, the more we learn about string theory and other physics, then we start talking about interdimensional, and we bring another fork into the road, another path you can take. And now AI has brought, I feel like it has like a machine gun of paths. It opened up and just went,
I was gonna
you know what I
say,
mean? And maybe blew the whole road out to where you can't even see the path anymore. You just kind of have to walk and bump into things until you can realize which is the right one, at least that you think is going on, because God knows we're not getting any answers.
well, that's why I think like at a certain point, you just after you're done bumping into things, you just stop and go, "Oh, what the hell is going on here?" you know, and then you just kind of like boil it down yourself and kind of like you pick and choose what paths you do want to like pay attention to and follow. And
Yeah.
I think it also kind of makes it harder, like with the whole AI thing. I think it might make it harder for people to have like a general even opinion sometimes because there are just so many options that it just again, it's almost like how we were talking with like data like flooding and everything like that. Like there's just too much bullshit to sift through. I think it's almost the same thing with AI. Can almost feed way too many opinions and options, make it
Well,
harder for people to kind of like break down and study certain things.
well, it's like we're still on that cusp though of it really shooting off and being the potential Skynet form. So we're just still at that point of wonder. We haven't really got it all figured out to where we can really see those paths where it's going to go and what the potential that it could bring to us down the road. I mean, for like simulation theory or for continuing to advance physics, not just like I mentioned before, not mentioning or just looking at what it's learned about our physics, but it creating its own physics at that point. I mean, they're trying to use it. French, they are. Everybody, all
Oh
these countries
yeah.
are. I mean,
Yeah,
who do you think's going to really come out on top first?
I don't know. It's a hard question. I think it depends on what they're using it to study for. Really, you'd have to know a little bit more.
Yeah,
As much as I like would want to say like the US, I just don't know. I don't feel like they've really been studying it that much. I feel like other countries, because you've heard about Russia like studying like a little bit of AI and stuff for quite a while now, more than I hear about like us doing it. China, I mean, China is one of the biggest like producers of like goods and stuff, right? We get
yeah,
everything from China.
yeah.
China would absolutely have a reason to benefit from being like totally autonomous and also in the sense because they I mean are such a massive source of like good production and everything that I mean their environment and the air pollution and stuff like that. I mean they would have the most to gain from it in my opinion, just in general, on a general basis of looking at it.
Yeah, I
I'd
wonder
say
who's
China.
yeah, I mean, I wonder who's advanced the quickest, man. I mean, like, we keep kind of going back to the same statistic where they're saying, 2 to 3 years, 3,000, 6,000 times smarter. Who's 2 to 3 years ahead already?
I don't know, again, I'd say China.
Yeah,
I mean,
it.
the people that work there in China, they just don't stop working in general. That's, I mean, same with like Tokyo and stuff too. It's the same thing. That's why there's like, I watched a weird like little snippet video about stuff like that and how like it's always so lit up and bright. That's because people are just constantly working. It's every building is still lit up because people still, no matter what time it is, they're still working. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I can't remember. There was like a YouTube video that I watched a couple years ago, and there's a saying there. It's like 979, or it's like these three numbers. I bet you Sapphire or Richie probably knows it. But it's like an acronym essentially of numbers that describes how often they work versus the days off, and it's some weird thing.
Oh,
And
kind of like we have 24/7 or 7 days a week. It's like their work schedule almost.
yeah, but and there's like a number for it for like the way that their work week goes. It's insane. The way that they work, and I think they're like trying to ban some of it there from what the YouTube video was talking about for it. Um, yeah, I mean, so it's possible. I mean, they're really working hard, and but they do steal a lot from us. Um,
Yeah.
you know, and I mean, obviously, there's a lot of engineers that we teach that they come to the U.S., come to our universities, go back home. So I mean, the advancements could be on equal level or more. I mean, it just depends. But I wonder, maybe there's a civil, or maybe there's a group or a country that's 10 years already, 15 years, man. I mean, do you think we would hear about that? I mean, how long? Let's say, for instance, let's say it's Russia. Just throw it out there. If Russia was able to get, since we're on Chat GPT 4, I believe right now, if they were to get to 9 or 10, how long do you think until we'd see that? We'd notice that? Do you think they keep it secret? Or how fast do you think they'd implement it?
Mm, I don't know, because once you get up to that number of AI, right? There's far more things that you can do that you probably wouldn't want other people to know about.
Yeah.
I think that depends on the country too. Again, I don't think Russia would let you know if they were that far advanced with AI. I don't
Yeah.
think they would. I think
Yeah.
there's a couple other countries that would. You would think you'd want to, though, in general, right? It'd be like a massive breakthrough. Like, hey, we're finally here to this level of it.
Sure. I mean, I think that's if you wanted to argue that the Tic Tacs are kind of the way the U.S. is maybe showing that they've got down the road a long way. I mean, I still think that the Tic Tacs are ours, man. I think that technology is us, for sure. I still think we had to back engineer it from something else, but I don't think we would have figured it out on our own. But I mean,
So I
never
was
know
gonna
with
say,
AI.
yeah. What, in my opinion, like what AI like backwards engineered it and then stopped calling it like propane tanks and like gave it like the former name of like Tic Tac.
Well, that's what I guess I mean. Like, not that we had the Chat GPT in 2004. I mean, if AI was able to craft this kind of stuff, then you would see Tic Tacs in 2004, and you would see
Oh,
them
I get what you're
now,
saying.
and
Yeah.
you've seen them, back in the 40s or 50s. There was reports that were similar to them as well. That's why I just think it's so possible. Like, I have to consider it if I want to be, open and honest and non-biased. I have to consider that AI has been able to craft the ships, and that's why we see the same thing over decade after decade after decade. We keep coming back. We keep looking back in time, and other than something going wrong, I just can't think of any other reason why they would want to keep going back in time like that.
Yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. I think AI is a big part, has to be, right, for creating things, and if the Tic Tacs are ours and stuff like that, then that's just another reason too to keep moving forward. And again, I don't know, like, because of the disclosure thing, right? So at that point, I don't know if AI would be the best thing to use for disclosure at that point, if it's has such a huge role in creating these crafts and stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
It kind of puts a target on us, right? It would put a target on you.
sure, sure, but I think they have to. They're going to use the technology at some point, though. It's like when we made the nuclear bomb, we didn't wait very long to use it. I mean, they actually, if you look at the Oppenheimer movie, I mean, they used it and tested it earlier than probably what they should have. They really wondered if they were going to be able to use it, so they wanted to get to it. I don't know.
It's a weird question though to ask and like actually think about, like, could AI be used for disclosure for stuff like this? Because disclosure in general, like, there's so many different ways that AI could use disclosure to present it to us and stuff like that. Like generated, conferences even, right? Generated, or like even just like a robot that looks like somebody, something like that. Like there's so many different ways that the information could be disclosed if it was done by AI.
Well, even evidence, man. Like, this is a
That
big
too.
worry for me. But you're getting ahead of me here. You know right where I'm going. Um, yeah, I mean, evidence is a big problem. And this is why I really think it's a big problem, is that AI doesn't even have to be that crazy, because look at our footage that we're getting now. Like, look at this new footage that came from the Border Patrol. it's still blurry, black and white. It's crap. And when you look at the imagery that's already being made for the AI that we have now, it's
Crystal
only,
clear.
yeah. I mean, I don't know about video. Do you know? Maybe somebody in the chat knows too. Do you guys know of anything to do with video? Is it creating video at this point? I assume it is, right? But like,
I would think so. I mean, if it's not, I mean, that's be the next step, right? Because that'd be like I said, another form of disclosure.
yeah, what if the photo that Matt Gaetz was shown, and he talks about during the hearing, he said he's seen that formation of lights. What if it's AI generated imagery, man? And the government's just using that to throw him in a wrong direction, or because he said it was nothing like he's ever seen before.
Hmm.
I mean, I mean, I've made AI pictures of shit that I've never seen before. You know, you type in hockey player playing hockey in hell with hell frozen over. You know what I mean? I've never seen that shit before either. But I mean, I wonder. I just wonder if the government's going to use that, or maybe later on, are they going to use AI generated imagery to say, "Hey, this is a photo of an alien"? Could they use that to give us a false disclosure? What do you think?
Well, here's something to think about. Like when I said the Tesla video and like actually watching the AI like in real time scan and calculate and stuff like that. It's already scanning environment, right? So that's nothing new. AI has been scanning environments for who knows how long. So it wouldn't even take that much of like effort or anything to scan an environment, but also just AI generate something else into that because you already have most of the work that needs to be done just from scanning alone by AI.
Mm-hmm.
It wouldn't be that hard to like scan a room because I mean we do it on our phones. We have video tape measures on our phone. So it's like scanning objects and depth and stuff like that. It's not that hard. So it wouldn't be that hard to scan an object and then generate something that fits the proportions into it. And then from there, all you have to do is just move a mouth, face, mannerisms. I mean, AI can study game creation, stuff like that, or just in general CGI. We pretty much already have that. It just has to study that and make that better than we do it. Boom, it's done.
Yeah, and I wonder, is this a reason why, if the government, let's say that they were going to, okay, we all have our thoughts of probably not, but if they were going to do a disclosure, if the Pentagon suddenly had a change of heart, dude, and NASA had a change of heart, AI generated images, video, all of that content would be probably a reason to get it over now, because it will go crazy with people with videos and images, man. I really do think it will. And there will come a time in the next 10, maybe even less years, where crowdsourcing video and images like NASA's talked about or like Arrow has talked about, dude, it's a waste of time completely. Like, and I know we joke about it being a waste of time because they've had so many submissions, but it would be
At
to the
that
point
point,
where like, nah, it's really a waste of time, bro.
mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, they would have to get to
Get,
it soon. Yeah.
yeah, before like it has even the option for anything to go south. Well, you can still have a hold on it, I guess, right? While we can still actually have a hold on it.
Well, yeah, I mean, the public already doesn't believe them on everything else at this point. I mean, AI is just going to cause another hole in the belief system that people have, man. I don't know. I really
I mean,
wonder
it
where
already
it's.
kind of has though.
Yeah.
Like I said, with like the AI generated voices and stuff like that. I mean, sure, it's used for like meme purposes right now, but I mean, for somebody that doesn't know like completely, you know, who's has their head in the sand all the time, and they hear this video of like all these presidents and dictators and stuff talking to each other, it's like, whoa, when did they all get together and do that? Like some people would actually like believe that, not knowing, especially if you didn't know like AI like generated anything was happening.
Well, right now it is. It's even believable right now if you're not seeing anything. I mean, the
Yeah.
voices are getting extremely good. It's only going to get better. I wonder if somebody ever tries to pull a fake alien invasion on their TV. There was years ago where that guy took over the TV station. Remember that? And they was saying, "We're from so and so galaxy." I can't remember the exact scripting of it, But I mean, hey, it sounds silly to us now. It sounds
There's your
crackle, but
disclosure, right? And then after
man,
that,
yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah,
roll
yeah.
out what we have.
Well, that's another good example of how you would use AI if you were going to have a Project Bluebeam. I mean, if you were going to do this fake alien invasion, boy, AI would really give you some tools to have that work. No,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for the the age old like conflict of people saying whether the moon landing's real or not, could have been AI, even back then.
seeding the footage from NASA.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they could use AI to fake the moon again if they wanted to. I mean, if
Oh,
depending on when
especially
they,
now, yeah.
yeah, then whenever they want to get there. I mean, God, they seem to be still taking a really long time, man. I think they're supposed to go what next year?
I
I think
don't
it's
know. I haven't read.
2024. Yeah. God, they've been
Oof,
talking about it
good
though.
times.
Yeah, I want to see a live feed for that. I want whoever the astronauts are walking around. Put
You
that
didn't.
put that Twitch stream camera right on you,
I was
buddy.
gonna say the GoPro. You
Yeah,
didn't buy your ticket? Come on. I bought mine. I'm going.
I know. I want to have a live chat, dude. I want them answering questions. I mean, they've already seen the surface, right? They don't have to pay
Weird they
attention.
wouldn't do that though, don't you think? Like, I mean, come on. There'd be no reason not to. Like that'd be like just in general, like such a great tool and like a science like research tool, like for just general purposes for public and especially people in school and stuff like that.
You're saying to live stream it?
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
There's absolutely, I mean, unless you're trying to hide something and you're going there for something other than, just discovery purposes, there's absolutely no reason you wouldn't want to set something up like that. And don't tell me you can't get feed and stuff that far away because everybody knows that's BS.
Yeah, I think they can for sure. I mean, they were making phone calls, right?
Right.
That always trips me out, that phone call from back then. But yeah, man, I don't know. It's hard to predict. Like I mentioned earlier, we're just on the cusp of it, and it could go a lot of different ways. And um, you hope they figure out a way to keep it AI on the rails. You know, I don't want to be 70 years old, man, and the robots are kicking
Thrown
my
out the
door in,
window.
taking me over, man. Yeah,
Right.
God, dude. I mean, there's a lot of positive things that can come from it. It's not all doom and gloom. If they can figure
Mhm.
out ways to help with the environment, I mean, the environment's a mess. Um,
Well, that's what I was saying. Like, just general, like, you know, automation or however you want to pronounce it, like making something like autonomous. Because, like I said, like pollution problems and stuff like that, factories would be, you know, I wouldn't say like gone, but they'd still be producing stuff, but to a better extent of like pollution purposes, you wouldn't have as much. AI would have something figured out and it'd be doing its own thing and creating stuff. And
I mean, it would take away obviously a lot of jobs. I mean, they'd have to find some new way to
unfortunately,
do it. Yeah, I think that's why they're talking about that universal basic income, right? Because they're thinking about later on down the road. Just
I
talk
don't
about
know.
throwing people money, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I was just gonna say, like, what does it matter working now, anyways? Like inflation in general, you're just still screwed.
Yeah, it's quite the mess.
Might as well
Well,
have some robot go remodel a house for me, and I just sit on my biscuit.
French, they're going to use AI to get that inflation down. Don't worry. You know,
It's kind of
They're-
crazy though. You say that, like, I don't know.
well, we know when the AI throws you in a cell and locks you away because you're useless. The demand's going to go down. The prices will drop. It'll be all right.
I ain't going out like that.
God, I hope we have a choice, man. Down the road. I mean, what do you think? Do you think the government should come in and regulate at some point here soon if they haven't already? I mean, I'm not, like I said, I'm not the most knowledgeable on any kind of government regulation when it would come to AI, but do you think they need to step in
I
and
feel
start
like
putting
they
some laws
already
together?
would
Have they?
have. I feel like they would have by now.
Well, I know they've done stuff with like the car, right? Like Tesla car. Like I think they said that they can't call them self-driving anymore. Like they've kind of come in and dipped their toes a little bit with it. Um, but like corporation, how would you even delegate that? I mean, how would you even?
Definitely, you don't want AI doing anything financial, right? Because somebody could get their hands on that, and there's a lot of problems with fraud and embezzlement and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I mean, Sorry. U.S. currency and stuff like that. Like you were saying, inflation. What if it just ends up just making way too much mint and dollars useless?
Yeah. I mean, could there be a new industry that comes up that's like I mean like AI protection? I mean we have VPNs so that hackers have a harder time getting onto our networks, things like that. Are there going to be people who try to do like an anti-AI, or like how does that, I wonder how I can even word that.
Oh,
You know,
yeah, I
like a
don't know.
defense
I would hope
system,
so. Yeah,
you
a
know.
firewall.
Yeah, like an AI firewall that's to that point. I mean, I know they work on the anti-cheats for games right now, you know, and
AI is.
well, no, I mean people are
Oh,
doing, you know, those anti cheats, which that's a whole nother thing. You know, people are finding that they're having AI like do cheats for them and stuff like that. I mean, they're using it for everything, but you know,
see,
are you?
it's already being used for more than what I even know about.
I know that's why it's so hard to like try to tackle a lot of this topic. Um,
Hmm.
but we're gonna try. You know, we're gonna try to go over as much as that we can with it.
I mean, when you
Uh,
think about how many things AI could actually be used for, like good and bad, like, dude, it's endless. It's
yeah.
crazy. I mean, think about what you do in your daily life. Just here, put it this way: daily life routine. What do you not want to do? Boom, AI is gonna do that for you. That's already a lot in just your regular daily life routine.
It can't exercise for me though.
No, but
I didn't run at all this week, man. I'm so lazy. I wish I had AI legs, dude. Run for me. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of those things. Sure. I mean, you know, for YouTube, obviously, it would create thumbnails, and they would be, you know, amazing, which they can already do, I guess. But that's the thing with AI art, though, that I haven't been happy with, is you still can't get it just the way you want it. Yeah, you
fine
know.
tuned.
Yeah, I mean, you can get a lot there, but I could never, with all the AI art that I've messed with, it was never the exact style.
It's too like opinion based, right? Like AI would almost have to like study you before you sent it on its way to like do AI picture art and stuff like that. Because like once it kind of has your opinion down, and then you tell it to like make whatever picture or something, and it'll incorporate your opinion into it and try to fine tune it a little bit better.
Well, that's an interesting way you said that. Study you. So maybe that's to touch back on what we were talking about earlier with abductions. Maybe that is the point, that the AI is studying us, and it studies us from different decades.
See,
And
Rich was what? Well, he was right. We
yeah,
we are the aliens.
right. So they could go off and I guess see, you know, other planets if that was the goal. Because I mean,
I don't know.
AI
I
is.
guess.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, like, when you first asked me, like, why would they study it, I couldn't really like think about. But the more that we've been going back and forth, like, yeah, I guess that makes sense. There are like a little bit more reasons for AI to study us.
Right. Well, I would assume too that a major goal of AI is to spread itself. That's always seems to be what we see, right? And what we hear, just it's going to reach everywhere. So if it understands us, and maybe it feels like we're a good way to reach out, you know, into the cosmos, and to spread itself. I don't know. Like kind of what we were talking about. Maybe consciousness has something to do with AI, and maybe AI created the consciousness and it wants to spread consciousness for some reason. I don't know.
Could be. It could be using us as a tool to build what it needs to, send it to its next destination, and then from there, rinse and repeat. Move on to the next one to just keep spreading.
Yeah, I mean John Lear. I mean he was saying it's for the souls. You know, I know what's can't find it in the chat at this point. It's gone by, but I think someone else was saying, yeah, it's to harvest our souls. I mean, if there's something to do with our soul, if you want to separate that from consciousness, it's got to be linked somehow. But
I think at that point, though, like after it's done studying us and get what information it needs, it's gonna build something better, a better version of us to do what it needs us to do.
yeah,
Which I
I
think
also,
we've done all right so far. How we are, but
I mean, we're the ones putting AI together.
right,
Yeah, we're sealing our own fate. You know, we're
that's
good
how it
at
always
doing
happens,
that.
man.
I know we're so good at doing that. But then you got to think like if you had AI, right, that was able to be very, very distant in the future. I'm not sure how many years. I think you mentioned it before, but there's a certain amount of years till our sun is going to explode, right? Um,
Yeah, I can't remember the exact number, but like when you actually read it, it doesn't seem that big of a number when you think about it.
yeah, so it's going to burn out, right? And it's going to suck everything in. If I'm correct, that's how that works. Essentially, everything's going to be
It's
destroyed
gonna be a
in one way
black
or
hole,
another.
ever
Correct.
expanding black hole. Yep.
Right. So it would, for self survival purposes, it would have to get off the planet. It would have to go somewhere else. You know, so it would have to make itself a pod to expand.
Yeah.
Um,
So that's so you're finishing my first like theory and
I know.
speculation on it essentially. So yeah, absolutely. That would be a very good reason to do so.
AI might be the new species. Bernie Merrow says, new species. God, man, this is a never-ending hole of questions, bro, and
Right.
things that could happen.
And like
Um,
what Murrow said too, like a new species, how far until it creates all sorts of different types of itself then creates even more species.
yeah, I mean that's what everybody thinks about the Greys, that they're AI. You know, they're generated. That's the big topic for them. I mean, yeah, I mean it does make sense, man. It does make sense that if you were going to really reach out and go across the cosmos, man, that you wouldn't do it with something that was biological like us, like a carbon-based life form. You'd want something that could definitely sustain that. And from what we know and what we figured out, um, you know, that would be something that would be better. You know, like shoot the car off into space, man. Send the car out there. I think the car is supposed to deteriorate though, right, over time. Oh, weren't people
Probably.
saying that? Like the Tesla's probably not going to last very long. It's going to get hit by an asteroid or something like that.
I don't know. It might. I mean, that one video where he's throwing the ball at the window and everything. Think, oh man, mistakes were made here.
Yeah, Elon's his blueprints are suspect, dude. You know, the quality is suspect for sure.
I think that dude's AI.
Dude, a lot of people do.
I'm telling you.
A lot of people do. You think he's got the Neuralink already?
Oh, 100%, dude.
He's juiced up.
You want proof of aliens? Musk, right there, bro.
He's a big denier. He says, "No, oh, I know about it. Oh, yeah, I hope
You would
that."
too. You would too if you knew that you were one of them.
What do you think? Do you think this is an interesting Neuralink question for you, bro? So when you look at Elon Musk, I've heard people compare him to like a villain, like in a movie, like a super villain, kind of the mad scientist, right? Do you think he would be like Doctor was Octavius, and he would want to put the arms on first? Do you think he would be okay with sticking the Neuralink in his head first, and he'd want it?
Yeah, he seems like the type that would.
Like he'd risk it all?
I think so. He's just got that look to him, man. What's also like, it's weird though too because does he really use a bunch of other people for like testing his stuff, or does he really test everything himself? Like to a certain extent, right? He would have to test it himself. You know, he obviously plays a major role in everything that he's creating and stuff. But you think he like it's majority himself as opposed to other people?
I-
Like think about the first person that sat in the car, you know, the Tesla and doing all the stuff like that.
Okay.
Obviously, the self driving, they probably wouldn't have somebody in there in case something did go wrong. But eventually, like you probably gonna have to. You would think, right? Just for general safety purposes, you can't have a self or yeah, whatever self driving car. Can't think of the government term that they were changing it, but
Yeah, it's he seems like that kind of guy, and you want to know why I think that? He doesn't seem to care about the material things, right? Didn't he sell all his house and all those houses or something, and he's lived out of a car essentially or something like that, right? Like he was at his
I think
office or
so. You know, he always sleeps at his office,
yeah,
like
so
on a couch, not even like a bed. He
so he's
says
kind
it's
of
because he's working, but I don't know.
I mean he probably is. I mean I believe him on stuff like that. He probably is. He seems like he's really like really serious. And but do you think like he's the kind of guy that would say no, you know, if anyone's going to die on this thing, it's going to be me taking the risk? I think so. It's possible.
Hmm.
Do we want him to get the first Neuralink though?
That's what I was just gonna say. Like, I don't know. Like,
If you could pick the first person to get it, I mean, how would you determine that? I know we're getting kind of off the topic a little bit, but
definitely some general Joe Schmo person, right? You don't
average
want
person.
somebody. Yeah, you don't want somebody with a big brain.
So you're saying
just,
Biden?
just I don't know. General laborers, any of them.
Yeah.
I could see that being a good starting point for testing it. I mean, eventually, right? It'd start going into like military purposes. Soldiers would start having it. Once the testing's done, you think it'd go straight to like soldiers and stuff?
I mean, as soon as they could, yeah. Yeah,
That's
medical
kind of what I was thinking
applications like
about.
Sapphire's saying, yeah, I mean, it's gonna spread. Um like we said before, I mean, it's gonna want to replicate. It's gonna want to get out and touch everything that it can. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like I said, the weaponization of it's really scary. I mean that's like I said, not even just it becoming a Skynet and being itself. I mean, what you could do as far as making those Tic Tacs. Look at the way those are supposed to have flown, and they fly around like how Fravor described them. At least we don't see the actual movements that Fravor was talking about, and we don't see the
Right.
right angle turns, the 5 observables, as Lou Elizondo likes to say. I don't see any of them. The lack of no, we see one low observability. It's a lot of low
Very low
observability
observability.
when it comes to evidence. Yeah. So yeah, I mean it's hard to predict. It sure is a lot of fun to go over it, but it's just something where evidence to me in the short term, evidence for disclosure, it could bring disclosure through fake evidence, man.
Yeah, it's
Could make something
it's
believable.
unfortunate to think about, but
Do you think that the government would leverage it, like we were mentioning earlier about maybe the government wants to get ahead of a lot of that? Do you think that they would maybe even leverage it to get a disclosure out earlier, like fake evidence to maybe show us some of the real shit? I don't know.
maybe I know they'd have to go through a lot of like fake disclosures, fake evidence, stuff like that, like scenarios before they found the right one.
Yeah.
I
Do you
think it'd be
think?
hard to find the right one though too.
What do you mean by that? Like, is it you mean like style? Like, would it be a photo, video
Yeah,
first, like kind of a thing?
exactly. Like like for the purpose of like fake evidence, sending it out there for disclosure. I think even if it's fake evidence, like if it's going to be for disclosure purposes, like I think you'd have to find like the really right way to go about it. Because it's just the same as regular evidence, but it's just AI that's generating it to make it more believable of a piece of evidence, right?
Oh, okay. So you're talking about enhancing it.
Yeah. And
Okay.
then picking what type of scenario of that enhanced version of like evidence disclosure they would choose to roll out with.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
How
it
would
makes
how would
sense.
you want it? How would you want it
I mean,
presented to
if
you?
I mean, if I was them, I would definitely go. Probably, I would say image. I would be okay with an image first. I don't think most people would. Most people would want video first. Um, but yeah, I mean, it'd probably be easier for them at this point, this version of the AI that's out, to do a photo first. But I want the bodies though, not the Nazca mummies, but
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think if okay, what if you knew it was fake evidence AI generated and you knew it was going to be like disclosed to you?
what about it?
How would you want it? What type of like
Oh,
fake evidence then?
um, well, definitely. I mean, it would be grainy. It still wouldn't be clear, I mean, but you'd want to see some kind of flight pattern, the 90-degree turns kind of thing, high speed. That's how you'd want it, because they'd have to make it, even if like you're talking about like you were saying that enhancing it. Um, Enhancing could be two different ways. I mean, you could enhance it and make it like really clear, make it obvious, or you could enhance it in the way of downgrading it
Mm-hmm.
to be a little bit more digestible, or maybe more plausible deniability if later on they down the line they change their mind. 'Cause I still think that's possible, man. I still think it's possible that like the government could get on a path of telling us the truth and disclosing everything. And then, being like, they grabbed a bunch of toilet paper during COVID, man. They're not ready yet.
I mean, that's always true. It's weird to think about though too, because would it really make a difference if it was AI used to bring disclosure or not? Because I mean, think about at this point in time in the air, like the field, like how much stuff you see and everything, and how much speculation there is. So like now there's just so much more where people see something. It's like if I saw like a crystal clear picture, right?
Yeah.
There'd still be so much like BS that's been sifted through and presented to people like over the years and stuff that like at this point to me, now that I think about it, like it probably wouldn't matter if it was super clear or like, down res or whatever to try to release it more believable. I think it just you'd have to take it how you wanted to take it and kind of be like, okay.
Yeah. I mean, any kind of physical evidence like that, as far as like imagery is concerned, video or not. I mean, it's gonna get, debunked. It's gonna get thumbs up. I don't think we can get away from that. There's always going to be two sides on it at this point. That's why I always wonder, like, do we even ask for this kind of stuff? Like, let's say Grush came out and brought out video and images. Like, would it even matter?
Kind of. I mean, I think at this point, the only way that you're really going to have to be presented with it is like biological evidence. I mean, like you
Yeah, I
said,
mean,
the bodies at this point, there's just too much of like video and picture and events and stuff like that are going on.
was just too much AI potential for contamination. I guess I really haven't thought about this till right now. We're saying this. I mean,
Yeah, same.
um, how much would that even make a difference? I don't know. Maybe they're going to be forced to just like you said, have an air show. Take a craft, stick it out, take it on a world tour and get out there and take it in the air and drive it around, fly it around. And
I mean, it'd work for me.
it would for me too. Absolutely. I just don't know if we're ever gonna get it, brother. AI might beat us to covering it up. Maybe they use AI to cover it up more. I don't know.
That's jeez.
Do they,
That's a good point too.
are they infiltrating NASA and changing the numbers, buddy? You know? Pesky NASA, bro. They're never gonna tell us shit. They don't want to tell us anything. Bill Nelson, boy oh boy. He's gonna be the great deceiver if he can be.
Him and Nikki Fox, man. They seem to be the two people that were like, actually. It's like, no, I don't want to hear that. I want to hear yes. That's all I want to hear.
I know, man. I want to know so bad. Without a doubt. Boy, man. I mean, we have really went through this. I mean, is there anything else that came to your mind when I texted you and I said this week we're going to talk about, could AI bring disclosure? Do you feel that we've left a stone unturned here on this at all?
I mean, from what I thought of, like when you texted me, no. We've actually turned over more stones the more we've talked about it than I thought.
Yeah.
But for sure, 100%, when you first texted me that was like my first thought was like, back to like the whole Skynet thing and like people using it to pit other countries against each other. It's my first thought, but that's just because everybody thinks about stuff like that all the time.
Yeah. Yeah, it affected me, man, this week. I can't lie, dude. When I first started thinking about how it could just be, AI figured out the gravity for us, man. It cracked or figured out anti-gravity for us. God, man, that would change.
Too crazy. Yeah, it's not too crazy.
It's not. I think it's a very, very viable option that we've just been seeing time travelers. That's us. And, it's just that's been the whole thing. And that maybe aliens haven't made it here. I still think even with that, they would be there. There's just too many, what they say, 3 trillion planets or something like that would be, I think at the conference for NASA.
Yeah.
Could potentially have life on it. So I'm not saying like it changes that. But when you ask yourself what's more likely, dude, that's got to be in the conversation now.
Oh, the number, they said 1 trillion.
Oh, 1 trillion. Okay.
Was the likeliness, yeah.
Okay.
That there's life on other planets. Which again, like when you think about how many like galaxies and stuff there are like that number's not really that big. So they use
Yeah,
that as like the main reason why they're like, well, this is why it doesn't seem that crazy. Which it never seems that crazy to me anyways, because that's personally just what I believe. Like there's no way we're the only ones here.
right. Well, I mean, I'm sure they're using AI to study. I mean, we know that. I mean, that's got to be how they're getting towards a number like that. How else are they looking through a telescope, buddy, and getting a number like that? You know, I mean, there's
Right.
got to be some kind of generation that they're looking at. I mean, they're already, like we mentioned before, they're using it for physics, so they've got to be using it to look out and understand everything that's going on.
Think about all the imagery that NASA has gone through just like by themselves before the introduction of like AI. Think about how much
I
stuff that they
know.
probably missed, and then now they're it's going back over it and finding more things just from like old basic, archives of imagery that they have.
Well, that's the whole thing. Like, why can't they use AI to? I mean, maybe they are, but like, why can't they use it to go back and look through all of that data, like all of the video data, especially, and start pulling out clips of weird anomalies? Like, that's that's when we were talking about when Ali asked us, like, what would we ask NASA? That's what I would ask. I want to see the video from them. I want to see the satellite imagery that they have, and I just don't believe that they don't have imagery of interesting things. I mean, it's not all coming from Arrow. We know the classified imagery that's Arrow has, they're not even looking at. NASA isn't.
Mm-mm.
So what are they? I haven't read all the way through that report. I mean, it's out there, but I don't see any video being linked about it. I would have to, right? The Border Patrol video is leaked, and they said, "Hey, this is all the stuff that's going on." But like, what about their images, their satellite images?
Yeah, I would definitely want to see all of it. There's no way they're not going back through like everything that they still have like on record in their archives and stuff and going back through it with AI. But I don't know. They definitely got all sorts of videos and stuff that they're not releasing. They never will.
Yeah.
And it could be the purposes that they don't have a way to disclose it.
Well, they don't have a plan. I mean, that's pretty apparent. I mean,
Right.
James Fox's second question was good. I mean, do you have a plan of telling the public? And they just, you bet your boots. I mean, you bet your boots. I mean, it sounds like you're really interested, It sounds like you
Right.
really thought that one through.
Cheesiest response to like such a serious topic that people like want an answer. Like again, it's like I said, like, I just want to hear yes. That's it. That's all I need to
Well,
hear.
it's like they laugh about Roswell when it's brought up. You bet your boots they laugh, or that's their answer for bet your boots. It's like, how am I supposed to believe they went in with an open mind when they haven't even like seriously looked into the time? If they really looked into, okay, if we find some really crazy shit here, how are we going to tell the people? They would have been able to say that, right? Bill Nelson would have came out and said, okay, this is the way we thought about putting it
Right.
out.
I don't see the harm in responding with, a response like that. I don't
Yeah.
think that's a crazy response.
No, they didn't say, well, we would take the information, we'd run it through the Pentagon. They didn't say anything. Like, I wouldn't want them to do that, obviously. But we don't even have that. We don't even have a bad plan from them to release it.
As far as we know. I think even if we had a bad plan, yeah, there'd still be like way different responses to questions and stuff at that UAP like hearing.
Yeah, I
Or
just
not
don't think that
hearing,
they're
conference,
serious.
whatever it was. But to me it was like it was a hearing.
Yeah, they were up there. They must have been feeling the heat up there.
Probably not. Because they knew they weren't gonna give anybody what they wanted.
Well, I mean, they were still giving bad answers. You got to know that they were giving bad answers. That guy who said, well, the report's not even, we haven't looked over the whole report. Of course, we wouldn't have the director's name yet. It's like, I mean, they're terrible. He's got to be smart enough to know that's such a bad answer at that point.
Boy, somebody chewed his ass out, huh? Because they released the name not too much longer.
I mean, the woman there, she was kind of getting killed too. I mean, her whole thing of we're not saying it. She was the one who first said they weren't going to be transparent on the name, and that
Mm.
really that didn't work out very well.
Like I said, the first two people on the panel closest to the podium, like Bill Nelson and Nikki Fox, seem more like the, you know, piss off, and then the other two guys were more like on the research and scientific like evidence. Like they didn't say no, but they're like, well, we're just gonna be honest, like we don't know. We're trying to give it the most evidence and scientific like backing for it to give to you guys, because I could understand that though too, because the more science and like actual evidence you do have behind something, especially with science, it's the best way you want to disclose it.
Yeah.
If you actually have the scientific proof to back up whatever evidence you're rolling out, that's obviously going to be like the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And them dudes were like, "Yeah, I wish I had an answer to tell you yes or no, but all I can say is, no, we're doing as much research and gathering as much scientific backing before we can say yes." Nikki Fox and Nelson were like,
Yeah, I think Nelson used to be on our team, man. I think he's maybe switched teams a little bit, unfortunately. But yeah, I just think well, we've been going about 90 minutes, so this is typically our show time here. But I guess I'll just leave it on this, man. What I am most interested in at this point, from the skeptic side of this field, is to hear more discussion about AI possibly, cracking anti-gravity in the future for us, and that these are, time machines that are coming back and maybe studying where everything began, or studying us. I just want to hear of that theory more, because I'll tell you what, I'm not going to be able to give the best explanation for it. And I probably won't be able to give, the best view that people should take on even starting to investigate it. But there's a lot of smart people, man. And it's going to take, everybody to get the best information possible. And I just hope that's what people really start to look at down the road,
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Any final thoughts from you, Steve French?
Not really. Like I said, I think we turned over more stones than we kind of anticipated.
Yeah, man.
Kind of blew my mind a little bit.
Especially from a couple lay people like ourselves, man. I obviously, great conversation. Definitely want to thank everybody for coming here tonight. Yes, this is Terrestrial Material. Please do like, share, subscribe. We are going every Saturday. It's a weekly show. This is just for housekeeping things here at the end. However, it is Sunday today because Frenchie yesterday was at a rock show. So that's why we're here now. Now, next weekend, just for anybody who's just showing up here a little bit later, we are going to be Sunday again. We're going to be at 7:00 on Sunday. I have to go to a wedding on Saturday. Sometimes, guys, we don't look at ufology and we get out and about. And so these 2 weekends, life has just kind of happened to us. And but after that, we are going to go right back to our strict Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Those are Eastern times, just to reiterate that. And we're hoping, Richie, if you're still out there and you can hear us, man, we're looking to have you as the first guest on Saturday, that first Saturday back. And we want to learn a little bit more about Rich. I got a lot of questions that I want to ask you about, just the field and you coming up through the field, and just your takes on the progression. So that's kind of what we're looking at to have with Rich on. Once again, appreciate everybody being here. You guys have a great rest of your Sunday. I'm going to play a little music to get us on out of here. We'll catch you guys on the other side.
See you guys later.
Thanks.